Hello and welcome. So, last week I had the immense pleasure of hosting a remote songwriting clinic where I discussed my personal approach to writing and playing using two songs that I wrote using completely different approaches. Right off the bat, I just want to say that this one was a bit of an experiment as I have not done these types of things remotely before, so it's a little rough around the edges, but I think there's enough information and value in it that was worth sharing. So, behold, in today's video, there's going to be a breakdown of the following. 1, rhythm guitar techniques. 2, a step-by-step tutorial on how to make your power chords way more aggressive sounding. So that involves not only the chords that you use, but the strings that you play and the angle of the pick. All that kind of stuff. Really nerdy, we'll get into it. 3, using the South Indian musical system of Konakal to learn rhythms more effectively, and plenty more. This is a shortened version from the original clinic as it clocks in at about 90 minutes, so if you're interested in checking that out along with the full song transcriptions that are included, head to my Patreon at the link in the description below and consider becoming a supporter. And if you stick around to the end, I will tell you where you can go to find free tabs to play some of these riffs. So that's potentially pretty sweet if you're into that sort of thing. All right, let's get into it. A couple of things before we get started. If you are unfamiliar with what Konakal is, please check out a short primer on understanding the basics found in this collection. Understanding Konakal will not only improve your timing and rhythm as an instrumentalist, but it will also open up your mind and make you a better creator of music as well. Also, I want to point out that even if it looks like I'm talking to myself, I assure you that there are people on the other side of the screen. The video that you see was captured while I was streaming live via Instagram, and I thought Zoom was recording, but long story short, it was not. One last thing. Occasionally, students will be asking me questions throughout, but seeing as this is a remote clinic, you will not be able to hear them, so I will have their questions included on the screen. All right, let's get into it. Let's break down a little bit of the main riff and all the other riffs. So I'm going to try to incorporate as much Konakal as I possibly can. It's really simple rhythms though. Like this first riff right here, the intro riff, where it's very machine gun like, very Fear Factory, very whatever you want to call it. So he told me, we broke it down and he said, was it tatikinatum, 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 takatum, takatum, tum, tum, tum. So, pretty simple, nothing wacky. It's just a steady stream of 16th notes that are separated here and there, except for here. Obviously this is 8th notes right here, but just like tatikinatum, 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 takatum, takatum, tum, tum. Alright, so I want to talk about picking technique a little bit. I'm going to assume that you guys know how to do like a really heavy chugging style riffs and all that, but there are some subtle things that can add to this that I never considered, but it's super simple. To get a heavy sound, instead of just picking one string, what you're going to do is you're going to rest your pick across the strings, and I have pictures to kind of help demonstrate this. See how it's kind of pitched forward? What's going on is it's resting across 2 or 3 strings. I like to rest it across 3 strings. So basically, here's the pick, right? It's basically like this from my perspective. And in doing so, you catch 3 strings at the same time. So instead of like, you have this like, forward. The tip is the tip of the pick is almost facing the ceiling more, exactly. And like the butt, whatever you call this, like the ass end is a little bit more forward. Allows you to dig in more, especially like it just sounds way more aggressive as opposed to, you guys can't hear this at all, can you? So, picking technique, the way that we do this is step by step, right? As you can see here, I'm finding the sweet spot for a palm mute
This is really, really, really simple stuff for a lot of you guys, but just in case, basically you're karate chopping right behind the bridge, or right behind the bridge pickup rather. So you kind of have the sandwich in between, like so, and then you just timber, let it fall normally, where your hand is kind of like in its natural alignment. And then from there you angle the pick with a tip that's kind of like towards the ceiling a bit more, like you said, Mike, and then just dig in across multiple strings as opposed to one. You just get this mean, like, it gives me like a whiskey face every time, like, it's just kind of, the other thing about this particular riff too, it's still really simple, but it involves basically an inverted fifth power chord, or you can think of it as a fourth if you want. Like, so we start with just open E, right? Just chug, 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 chug. 6th string, just standard tuning. But this is another like little cheater. I think I picked this up from reading about like some interview from Dave Mustaine, and he was talking about like how to make a standard tuning guitar sound like a 7th string. Really simple. You just take, you know, let's say a B5 right off the A string, right? 2nd fret on the A, 4th fret on the D, but then you put the 5th in the bass, right? Just throw that in the bass, so that'll also be 2nd fret on the E string. So you could either do it like this, or you could just do a 1-finger version of it where it's just 2 strings. That 1-finger version is something that I stole from the camp. One of the few things I understood. It's kind of like, oh, I understand that. Because Matthias had these transcriptions of these 8-string tuning songs, but made for standard. And a lot of these types of power chords, especially for the heavy parts, especially during the Rule of 13, it was kind of like this whole, this 1-finger inverted power chord thing, which I found really interesting. And it kind of gave me permission, because I used to just do the inverted power chord, but like treat it like it's a horizontal shape. So I get 3 strings. Yeah. And that can be good, depending on the situation, but if you're doing something really fast, like that first riff right here, it can be a little problematic. Am I shouting? Like that's really fast, so if I'm doing this, I'm trying to cross 3 strings at once, and that gets a little muddy and a little like, So, Matthias for the win once again. We're just kind of like... Yeah, so how we doing so far? Does anybody need to leave or want to? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so all that. Just back to what I was saying about like the angle of the pick equaling more aggression with these simple like down-picked riffs. Here's just this dumb, simple riff, but listen to how aggressive it sounds. Really, really, really simple. Again, I wrote this song. I mean, I write songs as a means of procrastination from actually practicing. Like, I will sit down and I will say like, okay, I am totally going to practice today. I'm gonna work on a thing that makes me better. And because I'm such a diva, my default setting is like, you know, I like to create my own problems. I'm really good at that. So I wrote this as just kind of like, well, what would be like a really dumb, simple rhythm guitar warm-up riff? And it would just be like... Right, so it's just like a steady stream of eighth notes there, but there's certain accents where I just play open, and in doing that, it's a workout because you're trying to like pick as hard as you can and really dig in and play like you mean it. But at the same time, if it was just all muted, just kind of like it just gets really boring. So even just a subtle twist of just throwing in an accent where things open up a little bit, it's kind of like, okay, yeah. It's like a little bit of a breath of fresh air, and it's also like a micro break for your arm. So it kind of keeps you in it, and it keeps you from getting bored, assuming that you like this kind of music. Here we go. The heavy-handed riff is what I called it. So yeah, what are we doing here? Okay, yeah. Steady stream of eighth notes. The open accents are happening on the and after beat 4, followed by another at the and after beat 3. So there's like one bar, so the accent is on the and after beat 4. The second measure following it, the accent is on the and after beat 3. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, dun, 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 Make sense? 1 E and a 1 E and 1 E and the I can't do that in 16th note speak. I'll get the conical with that eventually. That I ran out of time. I mean, I write every day regardless. They could be riffs like this. They could be, like melodic things. They could just be like vocal melodies. They could be all sorts of stuff. Yeah, like it could be like this one. I think a student called out one day at the school, and I was like, all right, I gotta do something. I have a half hour, so it's like, what can I do in a half hour? And that's how this really simple riff came to be. Made me make that face. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling better now. I feel better. And then the rest kind of like, snowballed from there. I think I just started working on it on every off day. But yeah, this is a very old song. Yeah, there's this really wild part. I call it the Twisty interlude. This one is incredibly syncopated. So if we just listen to this real quick. So essentially, it's based off of like this, I guess you could think of it as like a 5-beat grouping, if you want to think of like the guitar as its own thing. So it's going to be like, so it's going to be like 4 groups of that, 4 groups of 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like super syncopated against a 4/4 rhythm. And then we chain it together with then taka taka takatimi takachuna. So we have so let's see if I can count in time with this. Oh boy. Here we go. Yeah, so tatakina tun tatakina tun tatakina tun tatakina tun taka 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 timi taka chuna. Yeah, it was just the feel. Like, it was kind of like, I think my mindset at the time was, so on the tatum, tum, right? When it goes dun dun, I was really making a point to like dig in a little extra hard there to kind of like be an anchor as far as like if I were to get lost in the syncopation, I would try to like lean on that tatum. So it's like. But yeah, it's kind of like all this stuff is I write it and then I go back and see the mess that I've made. Like, look what you did. Look what you did. Yeah, like, and that's what I've been doing, just, as a way to kind of learn this. I haven't written anything from Conical yet, and I'm really excited to see, like, what will come of it. The low-hanging fruit for me is always kind of like a stream of consciousness type of thing. Just because like I half exist on this planet as a human being already, like half of the time my head is like in the clouds, I'm like, it's so nice up here. Like that's how I operate in most scenarios. So I guess I gravitate more towards just kind of like, just kind of following a stream of consciousness and just kind of seeing what happens after. But it's really fascinating because it just makes you a better teacher too. Just be like, create something that like excites you and then go back and just use that other side of your brain to analyze what you did and be like, oh, it's made of this stuff, it's made of this stuff, it's made of this stuff. So, anyway.
All right, so that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you are interested in learning the riffs featured in today's video, you can find the free tabs and guitar profiles at the link in the description below. While you're there, I invite you to check out a bunch more free content on the Patreon and consider becoming a supporter, as I will be announcing the next clinic very soon. Thanks again. I'll see you on the next one.